So this week we got a not so ambitious stack. Gotta finish Lady Chatterlys Lover. This is for a video that I'm doing, reading the most banned book, and it's this one. We're gonna read this little beauty, Albert Camus, Create Dangerously, and we're gonna be reading some Sherlock Holmes. I feel like Sherlock Holmes is very autumnal, very cozy. And then we're gonna have a little palette cleanser. You know we love the famous 5 on this channel. This is The Secret of the Caves. This is number 12, and the cover is very like 80s. They're like all 80s punk rockers. Like, okay. So yeah, just come along my week with me, and as I do things and also read. Got a games night tonight, which I'll bring you along, I guess. But first, let's start off the video with a little book haul. A little tiny book haul, shall we? Oh yeah, that's how you sit down when you're in your 30s. Let's start with the bargain bin. This is Magnum Ireland. This is a photo book. I got this for €1. €1. Photo books, especially a Magnum photo book, I mean, this would be like, I don't know, €40 usually. And it's just all the Magnum photos through the years. Magnum Ireland is a visual record of Ireland over the last 7 decades, as seen through the lenses of the unrivaled talents of Magnum photographers. So I studied photography in college, and I still partake in it. My thing is just 35mm point and shoots. So I got this Nikon Light Touch, and then I've got my Olympus. That's what I do now. That's what I do in my spare time now when I'm not reading. And it is a very, very expensive hobby, not gonna lie. Next we have The Glass Castle. This is a memoir, and I've actually seen the movie and it was amazing. Tragic and comic at the same time, an outrageous story, one that will break your heart. Yes, please, I need to have my heart broken. Another memoir. We're in a memoir space. Educated. This has been on my TBR for so long. It has amazing reviews on Goodreads and everywhere. It's about a woman who grew up born to survivalists in the mountains of Idaho. And she was 17 the first time she set foot in a classroom. Her family was so isolated from mainstream society that there was no one to ensure the children received an education and no one to intervene when one of Tara's older brothers became violent. So yeah, basically, but then she ends up going to Harvard and to Cambridge. So what happened? We're gonna find out. Let's stick with the theme of memoirs, and this is the brand new book. I think you probably know what it is, right? You can probably guess. Yep. I'm Glad My Mom Died by Jeannette Mccurdy. I wasn't really much of an iCarly fan. I didn't watch it. It was a bit like after my time. I was more of a Saved by the Bell, Sister, Sabrina the Teenage Witch kind of kid. But I've watched iCarly a few times, but I'm just very intrigued by the title, and to see why she's in fact glad that her mom died. We're gonna be reading this in this video, so we'll put it over there on my stack, okay? This has just turned into a fully fledged book haul video. That's okay. A little tiny beauty. So this is by another. I didn't know D.H. Lawrence was such a hottie. I should have known though. Look at that. So yeah, this is Odor of Chrysanthemums, and it's just wow, it's actually a few short stories. Okay, this next, I'm a little bit annoyed about this because I did not do my due diligence, but I got this famous 5. It says it's 5 Go Down Under. It says Enid Blyton, but it is written by Sophie Hamley. And it's like when they're flipping older, and it's part of this series that is all like 5 Give Up the Booze, 5 Go Gluten-Free, 5 Go Parenting. Like this is not what I wanted at all. I thought it was just an actual famous 5 book, but that's my fault. But it is really nice cover and everything. From the bargain bin. Disgrace by J.M. Coetzee. I have no idea what this is about, but it's been on my TBR for ages and I don't remember how it got there. Like, it's on my Goodreads TBR. I have no idea what it's about at all. I don't want to know. I don't want to know what it's about. We got Nellie Dean. I heard of this book when I was researching Wuthering Heights, after I read Wuthering Heights, and I was doing a video on it. And this is basically kind of a retelling of sorts, and it's told through the eyes of Nellie Dean, which is the housekeeper who's just hearing everything. No, she's the one telling the story, right? Yeah, because it's told through that weird narrative of him retelling what she's telling him, whatever. And yeah, as I was reading Wuthering Heights, I was like, I bet Nellie Dean has the real tea. Like, she's seen it all, she's heard it all, like, she's leaving some bits out. Okay, last book. This one has also been on my TBR for ages. So if there's a modern literary fiction book that's been on my TBR and I see it in the bargain bin for like $2.50, I'm gonna buy it. This is The Dark Descent of Elizabeth Frankenstein. A beautiful tapestry of horror sewn together with threads of madness, obsession, and murder. 3 of my favorite things. So I finished Lady Chatterlys Lover, and I mean, look, it was great. It was great. It was not unexpected at all. Like, was there tons of spicy scenes, spicier than any spicy book I've ever read? Yes. Can I sort of see why it was banned? I'm not saying it should have been, but I can see why, like, back in those days, this would have been extremely, very scandalous. But yeah, I was taking notes, a lot of notes, because there was so many quotes that I love, because it's way more than just a spicy book. I did find myself lolling a lot, and I know it's not supposed to be a funny book, but so Connie, the main the main woman, the protagonist, Lady Chatterley, she has a lover, and it's the gameskeeper, and she's having an affair with him. She's cheating on her aristocratic husband, who is in a wheelchair from the war, and she's cheating with his gameskeeper. So the gameskeeper, I didn't know what a gameskeeper was, because I didn't grow up with a gameskeeper. Okay, if you did, good for you, but I didn't. He keeps the game, which is just like a fancy way of saying the chickens. I also don't really think she likes him at all. She's constantly getting the ick from him. Like, there's so many times when he's just doing regular things, and she's just looking at him being like, ew. Like, girl, you don't love him. But she also doesn't love anybody. She doesn't love her husband. I think she's a narcissist. A lot of really interesting discussions about class, about love, about sex, and about affairs. Okay, it's been a few days, but I have absolutely been gobbling this book up. I didn't expect it to be so funny, first of all. Like, it takes a lot for a book to make me lol, or, you know, to even chuckle. The most I'll usually get out of a book is a... But this makes me lol, and it makes me chuckle. 2 things that I love to do in life. And I wasn't expecting that from such a, you know, hard-hitting topic, you know, parental abuse. You know, definitely a trigger warning for every trigger there is, to be honest. But mainly abuse, emotional abuse, sexual abuse, death, cancer. The chapters are very short. Also, something I've noticed is each chapter starts with like a bit of dialogue, but completely out of context. So it's really like it keeps you on your toes. Like, well, who's saying this? Like, what's happening? We're inside her mind from like the age of 4. Like, there's a scene where her mom is like chasing her dad with a knife, and Jeannette, just as a kid, is just like cheering. She's like, yeah, go mom, get him, you know, because she doesn't understand the severity of the situation. So she really conveys the naivete of a child, but still how they're actually really being deeply affected. got some peppermint tea. We finished. I'm glad my mom died. We got a lot to talk about. I'm not sure whether to... Oh, that's too hot. I'm not sure whether to do a whole video reviewing it or just talk about my thoughts now. But I'll just talk about my main thoughts now, I guess. Okay, it was funny and there was a lot of comedic relief, and it was all just due to Jeannette's, you know, she's definitely quite clearly one of those people who has natural comedic, like, inner monologue as a coping mechanism slash defense mechanism, and I would definitely be that kind of person as well. So I felt like, I know this is so like parasocial and weird, but I felt like I knew her from it. It does talk very candidly about the abuse from her mom, but it shies away from being very like dramatic, I suppose. But having said that, even though it was funny, it was also intense, and I did have to like take breaks. Even though it was very readable and very addictive, I did find myself having to be like, wow, okay, let's take a break. Because you really do, you're in it with her. Hi! You just came in here, breathed heavily and left? Okay. Weirdo. Oh, lost man. Not gonna bring me down. Best of all, I got my baby. Fall to the night, kids go down, it's wrong. And you know I need to want, and I see some steady. Make sure I look casual. Something I've been reflecting on a lot lately is closure. Everyone always talks about closure, like at the end of a chapter, let's say. The end of a job or a relationship or a friendship. And in my 20s, I was very big on closure. Like I had to get closure. You know, I had to get closure, and then I had to go and stare at a body of water and feel emotional. Like that was my thing. I had to do that in order to close a chapter. But, you know, so I would send that long email or 2 or 3, or I would send that long text, and 10 times out of 10, it didn't actually bring closure. Like, closure really does come from within. It's so hard to accept because you're like, no, I can't. I need to say my piece. I need to speak my truth. And obviously it completely, okay, it does depend on the circumstance, but, and you know, it's not easy, but it is about having that self-control and knowing, like, you gotta learn from your past experiences and actions, and you gotta be like, okay, I've done this, I've seen this before, and I didn't like the ending. On my Swifties, you get it. The goal for me, I think, now in my, take a shot every time I say in my 30s, but the goal for me is to really not care what people think of me. Like if someone comes up to me and they're like, wow, I think you're the most amazing thing ever, like you're just chef's kiss amazing, for me to be like, okay, that's nice that you have that opinion, but to feel nothing about it. And equally, if someone comes up to me and says like, you're nothing to me, you're worthless, to be like, okay, thank you for sharing your opinion, and just to be completely unchanged inside. Like, that is the goal. Because, like, your validation, you gotta get validation from inside. And, like, it's hard. And, like, at first it's, like, boring. It's like, no, this inner validation sucks. I want someone else who I deem as cool and respectable and who I think is great to validate me. Because that's like top tier validation, you know what I mean? Because it's not true if it comes from me. So that's what I'm working on, and I know that it's gonna be a long journey, but I think so many, if I look back, oh, by the way, we're gonna talk about the famous 5 in a second. And it has absolutely nothing to do with what I'm talking about right now, but if I look back at a lot of like situations in my life and mistakes and things that have gone wrong, it all kind of started because I cared about what people thought of me. I cared about if they liked me or not, and I listen, what I'm trying to say is I'm very easy to love bomb. Like, pride comes before a fall. And I'm rambling now, but I don't know. Let's talk about Famous 5. There was a lot of half-baked thoughts about to come out, and we'll just talk about Famous Five. This is the secret of the caves, and the whole time I was just worried about these kids, and I was just like, y'all are gonna die. Like, this is how people die. You're wandering around in these dark caves. I was just so concerned, and like, where are their parents? And then there was like these older kids, like 19, 18, who were they were doing something illegal. What was it? It was like they were illegally like fishing for crabs or something. And yeah, and they were kind of like giving them trouble, you know? Of course Timmy saved the day every time, the dog. Yeah, that's all. So it's been a while since we last spoke, and in that time I have read the 2 other books. Sorry, I look like Joe from You right now. Let's just fix that. So yeah, let's talk about Albert Camus, Create Dangerously. So I originally thought that this was an essay for some reason, but it's actually a speech, and speeches are supposed to be spoken. So it felt a little weird. There's something just not quite right with the like phrasage, but it's the first essay, which is the main speech. The first speech, which is the main one, Create Dangerously, is about a topic that kind of plagued me a lot during my more creative days, and that is whether you like, is it enough just to create art for art's sake, or does there have to be a message behind it, a meaning? But yeah, he mainly talks about a political meaning. And it got a little confusing, not gonna lie. I wasn't really sure what the conclusion was in the end, but there was some really good arguments for and against, just like for art's sake, and art with a meaning. So yeah, a very quick read, very thought-provoking. Next, The Hound of Baskervilles, Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. I absolutely see why he was knighted. I loved this. I had so much fun reading it. But I love a good mystery. I solved a mystery. I did. I solved a... Oh, well, did I? I think I solved a mystery during the week, actually. The neighbors, my next door neighbors, someone threw a rock through their window and also tried to break in. So I went around to make sure that they were okay. And I was like, do you still have the rock? And they were like, yeah. So I examined the rock. And anyway, look, it'll be a whole thing, but the police didn't care, firstly. They threw aside all of my clues and all of my evidence and all of my theories, and they just said that it was drunk, rowdy guys, even though I actually heard it happening, and it was not a drunk, rowdy guy. So basically, I think I should have been a private detective. Thank you so much for being on this journey with me, and I will see you guys really soon.